It's Monday. It's another episode of the Grappling Bulletin podcast. It's myself, Hal Teague, joined by Chase Smith for the last time. It was going to be a while. We'll get into that in a minute.
Second time today, though. Welcome back. If you saw me earlier, happy to be back with you all.
You've got the little sneak peek. Yeah, and we got Corey Stockton in the back. What's up, Corey?
Yo.
All right, so guys, let's get to it because there's a lot to unpack from the weekend, right? Road to ADCC was so much fun. It was a great event. First of all, just overall impressions of the event. What did you think?
Dude, I had so much fun.
Right?
I mean, let's talk. We could talk all day about the matches, and overall, though,
well, we will talk.
There
about matches.
was some concern, with the 20-minute time limit. ADCC format could be a lot of wrestling. Every single match, in my opinion, delivered such high octane action, great jiu-jitsu, and of course, many storylines have come out.
Man, I got to say, the matchmaking delivered on all fronts. There was a little bit of everything. There was just some all-out scraps. There was some really cool technical exchanges. There was some just absolute blowouts. Man, it was a wild night. Corey, you were sat right next to us, Matt side. What did you think?
Yeah, exactly like you said. We got to see a little bit of wrestling from the wrestlers and from maybe some of the non-wrestlers. We got to see some great jiu-jitsu, some passing attempts, some submission attempts, and the fireball that was Roberto Jimenez versus Kade Ruotolo. So great night all around. There was not one match that let me down.
Absolutely a match of the year contender. We're definitely putting that on our shortlist for the end of year awards. But another candidate for a major award that I think that everybody will have to keep in mind as we later in the year, right? Always towards the end of the year, we do our big end of year recap where we do the FloGrappling awards, and we have various categories, including male grappler of the year, female grappler of the year, match of the year, and always one of the big ones, submission of the year, right? And for me, I think that this is definitely on that short list. Duarte versus Matheus Diniz. The main event, champion versus champion. 2019 ADCC over 99 kilogram champion versus 2019 under 88 kilogram champion, meeting in an absolute ADCC Superfight rules contest in the main event of Road to ADCC. And Chase, the result, personally, I was shocked. I was blown away by it. What did you think?
It was so impressive, right? Let's talk about how it was only in 2 minutes. That's how long it took for Kainan to get a submission over someone like Matheus. We knew Kainan was viewed as a strong favorite coming into the match.
Yeah, he was the favorite.
But yes, the question of submission was very much in the air. It's like, okay, Matheus could very well have a very defensive game, very strategic game, and hold Kainan off. He's a great wrestler. But as we saw, Kainan hit him with that awesome foot sweep, then put him down, and then from there it was difficult. We knew
actually roll the clip if you don't mind, Kyle, because we've got a little video that we can play of this. That Kainan, man, he smoked it. And that's not easy to do because until this match, Matheus Diniz had only been submitted once in a no-gi match as a black belt. Once. And who was that? Gordon Ryan. That's what the level it takes to take out somebody like Matheus Diniz. That's how tough Matheus is, right?
Yeah, undeniably so. It's interesting that Matheus holds the distinction of being the only competitor, at least in modern history, to take on current ADCC champs. He did it with Gordon in that match where he ultimately lost at Who's Number One. Gordon, of course, being the absolute champ and under 99 champ. But here we are. We're seeing now the match from this weekend with Kainan, and it's probably a pretty easy highlight to cut there, Hal.
Yeah, it didn't take long. They weren't. I mean, Kainan looks significantly bigger. There was about a 21-pound weight advantage, I want to say.
I think it was 17, but still.
Okay, yeah, okay. It was 20-ish pounds. But I don't know, man. As soon as Kainan got hands on him, he just seemed to have a distinct advantage.
That was so pretty.
If you want to go back and watch that clip, and if you want to compare it to his match with Rodolfo Vieira from Who's Number One last December, that sort of shuck that he uses to set up that foot sweep is the same thing that he used to hit the throw by that led to the quick submission against Rodolfo Vieira. In this case, Kainan followed it up with the foot sweep instead, got on top, and from here, he backstepped into a leg lace and then hit what many people, I believe, Corey, they call the Texas cloverleaf. Is that right?
It's the cloverleaf. That's right. At least that's the way I've always known it. It's one of those submissions that looks like maybe it shouldn't work, right? Or it shouldn't work against somebody that caliber. But I think with Kade and Duarte putting it on, it's trouble. And look at the way the knee bends sideways. There's some pressure on the ankle.
Break it down for us quickly. I mean, like, where's the pressure on that? Because for people looking at it, is it a knee bar? Is it a heel hook? Where's the pressure?
So it really all depends on exactly the way the legs are laced up. Sometimes it's closer to an ankle lock. Sometimes it's closer to a knee bar. In this particular instance, you could see the way the knee was bending sideways. There was definitely some pressure on the knee, and at least I saw when Mateus got up that he was limping a little bit, maybe not
It does look like it has some of that side knee bar action right there, which is a really nasty submission. We've seen people, get crippled from that. Mateus was limping, but I don't think any serious permanent damage. Hard to tell at this point, but I don't think that was the case.
And Mateus rarely gets caught in those positions. Gordon was on the call with us, right? He was in the commentary box, and together we discussed it. And Gordon said that he doesn't feel that Mateus's leg lock game is really there. He's not sure how much he trains it and how much he's exposed to those kind of attacks and how capable he is in being able to defend them. But that's the first time, that Mateus has ever lost by leg lock in a no-gi match. So I think it's interesting that Kade was even able to put him there in the first place, right?
Or that he wanted to, right? He dropped back on the legs. And it really goes to show, as we highlighted throughout the week, that when Kade told us that he has spent the last 5 months exclusively training no-gi, well, it's manifested itself in some interesting ways. Of course, hunting for legs now.
Isn't that fascinating, by the way, that Kainen's gone all in on no-gi?
It's a great move. And he said, of course, his new goal is to become the best no-gi grappler. So, interesting target there. You can insinuate what you want from that, but
it's pretty obvious what you want. There's one way to do that.
His teammates are certainly calling for a match with Gordon Ryan, right?
Well, there's one way to get to that number one spot, because if you look at the pound-for-pound rankings, Kade is number 3. Currently, only Roberto Cyborg and Gordon Ryan are ahead of him. Roberto Cyborg, of course, submitted Kade with a heel hook last year in what personally I would describe as an upset and something of an anomaly. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Cyborg's win, but I do feel that if that match replayed, I'm not so sure that Kade would have been... I feel like he was kind of caught sleeping a little bit.
Well, it was
in that
the impetus. He said it. It was the impetus for this no-gi training period that he's adopted, and focusing on things like heel hooks and leg locks. He said that match woke him up. He's been caught before, been caught again recently, as recently as September last year.
But I'm thinking, man, how likely really is it that Cyborg is going to face off with Kade again? Because, Cyborg is now 40 years of age. He's already kind of slowed down after an incredibly busy 2020 where he competed almost more than anybody. He's barely competed at all in 2021. And I feel like his kind of, his focus has maybe shifted and maybe he's got other things going on. I'm not saying he won't come back to compete, but you don't just take like 6 months off and then dive back in and against somebody like Kade. But of course, Gordon is not in the mix either. He's still currently ranked number 1, and he's saying that his treatment plan is going very well and that his match with Andre Galvao is 100% on next year. He feels confident that he'll be ready to go by then, but that's a year away. That's over a year and a month away. So it's going to take a little while until that happens. How likely is it that Kainen's going to get a shot at either of those men between now and then? Anybody's guess.
Let's not forget, too, that Gordon has been very open that he does not want to take a match with Kade because of business reasons, right?
A tournament would be the only way.
There's a dispute that they had, and you guys can look it up. It's all over Gordon's Instagram. But he says that we'll never take a super fight with Kade. But, if he's in a bracket with him, it's possible. However, Gordon, we still don't know if this is going to transpire. He's asking to be in the super fight at ADCC and a bracket, but of course, we're still too far to know if that's going to take place.
If we would have to wait for Kade to let's say, win the absolute division, and let's say that Gordon wins the super fight against Galvao, then are we saying that the earliest that we would see that match between Kade and Gordon would be 2024? Whew, that's a long time to wait. That's a very long time to wait. Let's hope that doesn't doesn't transpire in that way.
In any case, though, Kainen is clearly putting in the work, and I'd love to see him take some more super fights against up-and-comers or guys that maybe aren't above him, because it's a very short list. Let's keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Great momentum coming out of that match. Incredible performance. Just absolutely blew Diniz out of the water. And for me, what was a very unexpected result.
Absolutely.
Well, that's not all that happened at the Road to ADCC. A little bit of drama transpired.
You may have heard of it. I don't know.
Yeah. If you've been on our Instagram the last couple of days, I think this is probably the result, or not even the result, let's say, but just this is what got people talking the most out of Road to ADC, was that I'm not going to call it a confrontation, I'm not going to call it that, but the ongoing sort of situation between Mikey Musumeci and Gio Martinez. Now, of course, there was a ton of trash talk leading up to this match.
I don't know if that's actually true. I wouldn't call it a ton. There was like a little bit. But anyways,
there was a smidgen of trash talk.
A smattering of trash talk, yes.
There's a little dusting of trash talk going into it. But, hey, okay, Mikey, he's definitely a sensitive guy, right? And he genuinely wants to be friends with everybody, That's what he says. He's like, listen, I'm in this business, but it's jiu-jitsu, it's a small community, and he prefers to be friendly and on good terms with everybody. Gio is the opposite, and there's nothing wrong with that. Gio is hyper competitive, and he's like, listen, I've met you once, yeah, we hung out a little bit, but we're not friends. I don't know you like my friend, and I don't particularly want to be friends with you until after the match. And Gio was quite open about, listen, afterwards we can hang out and get some pizza or whatever, but up until that point, he's like, nah, man, it's business, right?
Yeah, and we hear actually in a moment after we watch maybe some of the highlights, directly from both athletes, kind of on what they thought. But let's talk about the jiu-jitsu a little bit. We'll get into some of the aftermath afterwards, say.
We set the scene that this was a little bit of an emotional match. There was definitely some heat coming into this, and Mikey seemed to be dealing with it very well. But then Gio came out guns blazing, and Mikey answered with this incredibly tight armbar. I don't know how Gio didn't tap to that one.
Yeah, my mouth was wide open. Corey, what was going through your mind when this was all happening here?
The entry was really really shocking to me into that armbar. It looks like the way that Mikey generally gets to his leg attacks. Maybe not surprising. He tends to use a lot of the similar setups. But yeah, the armbar, I was so surprised by the flexibility of Gio Martinez, both on this armbar and in some of the later leg locks. It looked really severe to me.
It was locked out, right? It was out straight. I mean, and here, this as well is a really significant inside heel hook. A lot of pressure on the knee there. And man, Gio just ate a couple of very tight submissions. But he would fire back with his own, man. He was not afraid of hanging out in a leg lock shootout with Musumeci.
No, Gio's game looked great. I was super impressed with it. And, to me, it seemed like, okay, Gio took a couple of Mikey's best shots, realized that wasn't going to break any of his legs or his arm. And so he was right there in the pocket the whole time, knowing he could take what Mikey was throwing at him, which created such a dynamic match, right? A lot of Mikey's most recent matches have been very cagey, as athletes have often stay on the outside, a little bit out of range. Gio was right there attacking, as you said, right back.
Fearless,
the entire time. Really, really exciting match here.
This back take, though, was something special. The K-guard into the back take there, and he comes up with the body lock. And this is how Mikey won the match, because up until this point, and this is deep into the match, this is almost 17 minutes into the match, that it was 0-0. And there was a ton of action, but this is basically what won Mikey the match, because he got the hooks, he got the body triangle, he got the 3 points. He ended up opening and closing the body triangle again under ADCC rules that gets you another 3. So he won, I want to say 6-0 in the end. But it was tooth and nail. It was tooth and nail all the way, right?
Absolutely. And one thing we were talking about with Gordon a little bit on the show, on the commentary, was that Gio's back defense is incredible, and it is a credit, you could say, to all the time he spent training for EBI rules, right?
Course,
a lot of people, when they get to this position in the past, would just feel like they're screwed, and that was it.
Right.
But that was a part of the culture of EBI. Was this is not the end of the match? This is the beginning. This is the beginning overtime.
It forced people to address that area and spend extended periods of time training their back defense. And yeah, Gio's back defense was looking at it. But this is where it starts getting a little bit spicy, because some words were exchanged during the match, and then even after the match, and there was words being exchanged like as during the hand raise. I mean, even our referee Gabriel Martinez, he took Mikey physically away and kind of like said, all right, enough of that, kind of shoot him away. And Mikey went over and he's talking to Eddie Bravo, and he's visibly upset. Now, in the post-match interview where he sat down with me immediately after the match, he was fired up. I mean, he was livid. And, I said to him, Mikey, wow, I know you're upset. And he said, I'm not upset. I'm not upset, And he was just so fired up. Obviously, the adrenaline and stuff. And, man, whatever it was that Gio had said to him or done during the match or after the match, it obviously pressed his buttons. But he calmed down a little bit by the time that he got backstage and he sat down with Reed. And, let's hear from Mikey himself. And, we'll hear what he has to say.
Like what he's doing, I really don't know. Like, in my mind, if you give someone your leg, you're positionally wrong. I don't know like why he was acting like that. Again, I'm a big fan of his jiu-jitsu and I respect him a lot. Just as a person, I was disappointed to me. And again, I apologize for if I talked too much and got like emotional at the end. I just got a little emotional, guys. I just finished fighting. Again, I haven't had a rest day in 5 months, so it's just been really hard. But we did it. We got another win down. Hopefully this makes me rank number 1 at 145, and then I could go from 135 to 145. And then if Flo makes a 125 division, I'm there also. Because now I can make 125, no problem. 135, 145. I just want to fight the best people and keep challenging myself.
And then I think we'll kick it right over to Gio, and then we can maybe hash out where things stand today, because we did catch up with Gio. One thing we should know about that interview with Mikey right there, you can see immediately he was like, whoa, that kind of got a little crazy on the live broadcast, which is what most people have seen. Of course, these interviews have been on the website and the app for a while, but the other ones went kind of viral. So let's go ahead and hear from Gio, give his thoughts on the matter, and wrap this thing up here.
I heard that I made fun of that he's typing Portuguese. Compared to like all these other guys, Gordon Ryan, all these other dudes, they really go hard on each other. I said like 2 little things and now I'm like the bad guy, now I'm just like the worst guy. I shouldn't even have my black belt because I said 2 little things to him, like he just like, I don't know why he's acting like super like I was super disrespectful to him. It was just like literally like 2 things and he took it, he got, I guess it hurt him, I guess it affected him and now he said I shouldn't be a black belt. So I don't know, I guess I'm not a black belt in his perspective, but like I told him, I was like, you can have respect for each other, doesn't mean we're friends. Like, I can't be friends with you if I talk to you one day, like, that's not a friend, Like, we just know each other, like, to be a friend, we have to really, really bond and connect, Like, so I just have a different perspective when it comes down to being actual friends, Like.
So I think, honestly, I'm gonna give my opinion here. Typically, I try and avoid putting it out there on personal issues beyond jiu-jitsu, but I don't think Gio went beyond any normal reasonable range of trash talk in the beginning of this lead up to this match. I thought it was actually pretty tame.
Yeah.
You look at someone like Gordon, for example, and it's a whole different level of trash talk and anxiety that he inflicts on his opponents. So it is what it is. Mikey, took it to heart because Mikey is a really kind-hearted person and just isn't used to that, I think.
Sensitive soul.
So I'm not going to criticize Mikey's reaction either. He's totally entitled to feel however he does. But I don't think Gio really did anything too wrong.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think Mikey is more than entitled to feel the way that he feels, right? That's fine. But I don't think that Gio did anything, egregious. I don't think he overstepped any lines. I just think that that what he did and the way he said it just happened to really push Mikey's buttons. Somebody else would have laughed it off. Maybe other people would have been equally upset. It is what it is. But there are some really shitty people out there in the world, and unfortunately some of those are also in the jiu-jitsu community, there are some really shitty people out there, and Gio's not one of them, and I think Mikey realized that he said, he shouldn't be a black belt, his conduct and stuff, and I feel like if you see Mikey's interview, he definitely walked some of that back. He was definitely just fired up, so it is what it is, but I think that there's definitely some unfinished business here. I think that this match probably should, needs to happen again.
Maybe it will. Maybe it will. We actually have Michael Sears on the ground now in Vegas with Mikey ahead. Of course, you may have seen this morning we announced him as our very first competitor for the Who's Number One Championships coming in September. So we're doing a little lead-up content for that. And I think we're going to get maybe some reflections on what happened this weekend at the Road to ADCC from Mikey as well.
Yeah.
Expect that in the coming days here.
Well, of course, Mikey was announced this morning as well as our first entrant into the 155-pound division at the September Who's Number One Championships. And that's wide open, right? That's an 8-man division at 155. And we got 7. Actually, we announced Kade Ruotolo as well, but we got 6 more spots to fill. So you never know. Could happen. We'll see. Road to ADCC, that was definitely one of the biggest moments, but it wasn't the only one. Let's recap some of the other matches, shall we?
Shall we chat Roberto and Kade, perhaps my favorite match of the year?
Match of the year contender, absolutely. Road to ADCC, as we mentioned earlier, had some just crazy matches, and this was the first match of the night, and it just set the tone for the rest of the evening, set the mat on fire almost. Roll this highlight. Let's talk about this as we're watching the action, because man, it was one of those squirmy like cat fights where they're just like kind of like changing positions or rolling around each other. It was a very fluid match. They were just cycling through positions almost quicker than we could describe. But man, for somebody who took the match on 4 days' notice, Kade Ruotolo came out hard, right, Corey?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing I love about this match is that we typically watch Kade Ruotolo trying to break people and trying to break them with their cardio. I think everybody knows there's no way to break Roberto's cardio. So what we got instead was just 2 guys really flowing and looking like they were trying to kill each other, but also very flowy movements and a lot of exchanges of position. And it was absolutely insane to watch. I went back and rewatched it 3 times after the night.
There was so much action. There was some amazing technical exchanges.
Right, I was just looking at that sweep from Kade. That was very unorthodox, right? Roberto, he may have been thinking about diving for the back, and Kade kind of used that very small opening of momentum to roll over on top, and then we have another crazy scramble. Really love the variety of technique, and you can see how much jiu-jitsu has evolved, because they're equally comfortable on the feet, doing a little bit of wrestle jitsu. There's so much going on in this match.
I think Roberto was so smart as well, because he did manage to pass the guard a couple of times, and when he did, you notice how he would always go to north-south? He wouldn't stay in side control. Of course, that buggy choke was waiting,
the buggy
right?
choke was, hoping.
Yeah, he either would go knee right like this, or he would go for north-south. But in the end, Roberto was able to wear him down, but it took 12 minutes to get to the point where he could launch a match-ending attack, and it's coming up right now. You see that he manages to expose the back. He gets to... Roberto is one of the best in the world at finishing from the back. He got here, he gets the body triangle. He actually manages to go kind of like arm trap, as you can see right there, and gets the rear naked choke in like we said, a match of the year contender. It was absolutely phenomenal that Kade came out on 4 days' notice and went after Roberto like that. But man, just world-class jiu-jitsu from 2 young, creative grapplers who are just really displaying the absolute cutting edge in grappling skill.
Right. I mean, it's been said before, but shout out to Kade for taking this match on 4 days' notice. Of course, he was just on vacation in Costa Rica, surfing. I was talking to Ty before the event, and they said they trained jiu-jitsu not a single time. They just got 1 session in when they got back, and then here they are, one of the biggest stages in jiu-jitsu, and putting on a show like that. So...
Can
really,
I point
really
out,
exciting.
too, that every time Kade Ruotolo takes a match, he ends up being nominated for an award, whether it's Submission of the Year or Match of the Year. Everything he does gets it, and deservedly so, I think. He puts it all on the line every time, and he's always impressive.
We're looking at some of the comments coming in here as well, and unbelievable opening match, fight of the night, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, match of the night. This was really one of the ones that just had everybody out of their seats at some points, and it was just so much fun. And you mentioned it earlier, Chase, right? That of course, Roberto's original opponent was Andrew Wilsey, and of course, Kade stepping up. That we were looking forward to a barn burner between Andrew and Roberto, and we weren't even sure that we were going to get Roberto a match, but Kade over-delivered.
100%, 100%. By the way, we haven't had much of an update from Andrew. We know everything's stable, from what we can tell. He's fine. But as far as what transpired, we don't really quite know.
So it's not all that was on the road to ADCC. I think a really interesting match for me as well was Ana Carolina Vieira versus Elizabeth Clay. We have a highlight of this match too. Let's play this one, because this was a very interesting case of the underdog winning a match in very convincing fashion. So Elizabeth Clay was the favorite in this match, and I think with good reason, given her experience in no-gi and her just absolutely merciless finishing ability. But one thing that really, really impressed me about Ana Carolina Vieira was that she had amazing poise. She was extremely patient and calm in the face of Elizabeth Clay's really dangerous leg attacks. And her responses were technically appropriate. Whereas a lot of predominantly gi players, like, you know, she mostly comes from that world. She doesn't have as much no-gi experience as Liz Clay. A lot of people who aren't so familiar with those attacks will respond athletically. They will try to explode their way out of positions. They'll freak out, they'll panic, and then that's how things, you know, go south quickly. But she responded technically and perfectly and shut down a lot of Liz Clay's attacks before they even got started, and then would fire back with her own.
Yeah, her passing posture was really, really great because Liz Clay is hyper flexible, and she's so good at doing what she did here, which is putting one of her legs, or foot rather, as a frame. But Ana Carolina was able to actually negate that for most of the match and get into great passing position, which really no one does to Liz Clay at all. So I was really, really impressed with Ana Carolina's top pressure, and yeah, she clearly was a dominant athlete in this match. Corey, what are your takeaways?
Yeah, I did some reflection after this match, and I have to say I don't remember if Gabby Garcia passed Liz Clay's guard. So the fact that
she didn't.
The fact that Ana Carolina could, and she passed it momentarily, but that says, I think, as much as I can possibly say in and of itself. It added to the fact that she was able to withstand and then negate every single one of Liz Clay's attacks, despite the fact that Liz was constantly going under and really looking to suck up a leg.
Liz Clay's A game.
Right.
Liz Clay's A game as well. You know, Liz wasn't able to really get one solid heel hook attack.
She did get this knee bar almost on.
Ate that knee bar and managed to get out. She managed to get out of the really deadly straight ankle lock that she has as well, the Achilles lock. And I loved the way that she would pass using the guillotine. That she would snatch that guillotine and use it to put Clay in the back foot, thereby negating any chance to go for the legs, negating any chance to go up high with the gogo plata. But it was here, right at the end of the match, that Vieira was able to pass, you know, and I almost was looking for this arm triangle choke, but ran out of time, basically. But incredible performance, like I say, you know, real, you know, it's no surprise, right? Because, you know, Vieira is a 3-time IBJJF world champion. She's only a 1-time ADCC veteran. But I just think it was really interesting to see this clash of styles more than anything.
Yeah, it played out a classic battle, as Gordon identified, and many others, you know, a passer versus a guard player. You have to wonder how much the format played into this, right? So Liz Clay took a negative rather early. I think she may have been trying to satisfy the criteria of attempting a takedown and then going into guard and not being penalized, but she didn't do it in quite the way the judges, and she got the penalty. So being on the back foot already has to play somewhat into the way that match ended up going. But
yeah, I think if anything that it did highlight one area of development for Liz Clay, right? That she's got a phenomenal submission game, and it served her extremely well. But if you're going to compete in ADCC, you got to learn how to wrestle. You got to at least be prepared to effectively sweep from bottom like Mikey did. You know, it's like, okay, Mikey doesn't have any wrestling either, and Gio took him down very, very easily. But then what does Mikey have? Well, he has a phenomenal guard, and he's able to reverse the position as opposed to playing exclusively off your back and just hoping to get that submission. So I think that, you know, Liz has got a lot to learn from that match. But of course, let's not forget she's still incredibly young, and she's got a long, long way to go. But even still, an impressive performance.
I just want to know what's next for Ana Carolina Vieira, right? I mean, that was such a standout performance. There's a lot of interesting opportunities out there for her. So
there are, right?
I would love to see her back soon.
There were some really good matches in that weight class, right? The heavyweight women's class. What do you think?
I saw Maggie Grandotti calling out for maybe Aaron Harp to get a match day with Ana Carolina. I think that would be a sick match. I think Rafaela would be a good match. They've had one before, but it was submission only back at Fight to Win, and there was kind of a messy decision, let's say. So it would be interesting to have it run back again.
Very cool.
But many other matches as well, sure.
Oh, yes. Let's take a little look at the Lucas Barboza match as well, shall we? Because this was a the highest scoring match in ADCC Superfight rules history. In the end, it came out at 34 31 technically after you factor in those 3 negative points that Lucas Barboza had. But I mean, you were right there, Matt side with us, Corey. Did you expect Hulk to smash as much as he did in this one?
Not as frequently, not nearly as often. I expected him to be able to eventually pass William Tackett's guard, given that it was a 20-minute match and given what we'd seen the first time that they ran into each other. But to be able to pass and repass and pass and repass and just really wear William down, which is as challenging as anything, was really it demonstrated exactly why Hulk is where he is and why he's at the top of the charts everywhere.
The only match that we didn't cut a highlight for, but we want to talk about it, is of course Nicky Ryan versus Dante Leon, and it was very unfortunate turn of events that Nicky Ryan suffered a knee injury midway through that match, and yet still went on to win.
Well, before the injury, we saw shades of brilliance from Nicky Ryan. The wrestling was on point, and it looked so much different than just a few weeks earlier when he fought Gabriel Almeida, PJ Barch. He was trying to implement his wrestling throughout this whole summer with not the same effect that he did against Dante, and Dante is an excellent wrestler. I mean,
Yes,
when Nicky took a shot, he was so deep and under the hips, it looked like he was drilling. You know, like, I don't have a great double leg, but when I'm practicing, you just plop him over your shoulder and take him down. He was doing that real time over and over again to someone like Dante Leon. I was shocked, let's be honest.
You're right, because Dante, of course, he is Canadian, but he lives in Ohio, and he has access to some very, very high-level wrestlers in Ohio, and he trains with some very, very good guys. And I'm not talking about good wrestlers for jiu-jitsu. I'm talking about straight-up good freestyle wrestlers. But Nicky Ryan, we've heard so much about Nicky in the gym. Nicky in the gym is so like a million times better than the Nicky Ryan that you see in the competitions. And it gets to a point where you're like, yeah, okay, like we keep hearing it, we ain't seeing it.
I mean, some people are really like that. It's not uncommon to be a gym killer and then not translate that into competitive success. You see it in all combat sports. But.
And I would say that this match with Dante is the best version or the best representation of that. We've been told so much about Nicky Ryan's potential and what he achieves in the gym. He shut down Dante, and that is not easy to do. Dante Leon is an ADCC veteran, having fought through to the semifinals in 2019. He's an IBJJF World No-Gi champion. He is a very, very capable grappler, and he is the number 4 ranked welterweight in the FloGrappling No-Gi rankings. Ricky Ryan has had a couple of, I'm not going to call them mediocre. I'm not going to be that scathing, but let's say that, capable in terms of he got the win, but not mind-blowing performances.
Satisfactory.
Satisfactory. That's a great description. He's had a handful of satisfactory performances this year on Who's Number One. That while getting the win getting the W in the win column, but just still left something lacking, and never was able to find the finish, was maybe not always able to fully implement the strategy that he was working on. This match, up in for the first 14 minutes, it was all Nicky Ryan, man. The wrestling was on point. He was putting the pressure on Dante. He passed the guard at one point using an excellent body lock passing. And then he suffered what looked like a really unfortunate knee injury. And well, Corey, let's hear your take, because when Chase and I saw Nicky limping across the mat, we had no idea how it happened. Did you see anything?
Not in the moment. And actually, the angle that you guys saw, I was sitting at a different angle. I didn't see him limping back to the center of the mat. So it seemed, I was surprised when he pulled guard. And then when his guard was kind of stagnated a little bit, I thought maybe, okay, he'd gassed out and he was just kind of holding on. Of course, he was just holding on, but it was because his knee had bent basically backwards. So I was caught off guard when he stood up limping, and I said that makes a whole lot more sense. But I think at a different angle, you guys had seen that it was much different than what I saw.
But isn't it impressive that Nicky was so obviously hurt, that his knee was gone at that point. He sat to guard pretty much immediately and rode out the rest of the match, with that points lead, and yet was able to fend off Dante with, in effect, one leg. Right?
Yeah, really a great show of grit and mental toughness there. Desire to win from Nicky, which, Gordon has said hasn't always existed in his game in the past, so yeah, this may be a transformative point in Nicky's career. Unfortunately, it's punctuated, of course, by that injury. Hopefully, it's relatively minor and there won't be any major procedures required.
We don't have any updates yet.
But we'll find out.
We'll try to find out. I really hope it doesn't take him out of action for too long, because there's no idea how bad it is. Our mat side trainer, who attended to him, gave him some ice and kind of said, it's looking bad, and he was not walking around either, right? He basically you had to carry him around. Oh no, who was it? Was it Corey? Was it you? You helped carry Nicky around at one point as well,
all the way out to the cart.
Yeah, that's right. They put him on one of those hotel luggage carts and kind of wheeled him out from the back room, and before they were able to find him some crutches and stuff. But yeah, pretty nasty, and we really hope that he bounces back soon. So speedy recovery. Get well soon, Nicky. Right.
Yeah, what an event, man.
What an event.
Every month, either Who's Number One or in this case, Road to ADCC, we put a lot of time and effort into producing the event and all the storylines, and every time there's just like a deluge of storylines and results and consequences that keep us going to the next one. So, of course, now we have a little bit longer timeline as we're looking towards the Who's Number One Championship
in September. Like 2 months away, yeah.
But, man, we're excited for that one.
We are. Let's talk about that in a little while. But some MMA news? Some MMA news, maybe, gentlemen? Some great news,
yes.
Yeah. I gotta say, this was something of a feel-good moment after the heartbreak of Rodolfo Vieira's last MMA fight, right?
Oh, yeah. That was tough to watch, but not the case over the weekend, right? I forget which event it was specifically. It's UFC something or other. And
so specific.
Rodolfo,
UFC Fight Night.
UFC Fight Night number 10,000. And Rodolfo came out looking incredible, right? His striking looked significantly better. He had a great jab that he employed throughout the match, and then was able to get the submission win. We have a nice little photo here that you may have seen circulating the interwebs.
Yeah, I struggle to say this guy's name, but I think his opponent's name was Dustin Stoltzfus, and this was a third round submission win that Rodolfo Vieira was able to get the rear naked choke after showing a much better developed striking game, because his last fight, he got picked apart and then he got fatigued and he got finished by a submission in what is definitely an upset, and that was his first career loss. So he bounced back, and Rodolfo Vieira now, his record, he's 8-1, and of his 8 victories, he has won 7 by submission.
Incredible.
That is really, really impressive. He is by far, and he always has been for me, but he is right now by far the most successful, the best exponent of jiu-jitsu active in the cage, because there are some great names from the world of jiu-jitsu who transitioned to MMA. I'm talking about guys like Ronaldo Jacare, I'm talking about Damian Maia, but if you're talking about somebody with the high level, world-class grappling credentials, active in MMA, who's had a lot of success in utilizing jiu-jitsu, can't find better than Rodolfo, right?
Absolutely. So a big weekend for the Vieira siblings. Anna Carolina, Rodolfo's sister, came home with the win, obviously. We talked about that. And now Rodolfo avenges his last loss. So great to see that, given all the circumstances. So good stuff.
Indeed. Well, that's not all that happened over the weekend. Fight to Win 177 went down in Houston, Texas as well. And some interesting matches at the top of the card, the main card. Headlined, of course, by Rafael Lovato Jr.
Speaking of Jiu-Jitsu MMA, Bellator champ.
A former Bellator middleweight champion. But Rafael Lovato Jr. returns to his roots in a gi match against a fellow IBJJF world champion, Alexandro Sacconi. Let's fire up this little highlight right here, because you can see this is some, I'm not going to say old school, because Rafael Lovato Jr. has actually got a great description for it. This is timeless jiu-jitsu in action, right?
Yeah, one thing Rafael Lovato has made a massive point to do is implement a jiu-jitsu that he can continue to use throughout the rest of his life. And it's classic, it's timeless. But watching him on the mats, gi or no gi, is really a pleasure here. And I like that the submission-only format gives him room to play around a little bit. Corey, what do you think about Lovato's match here?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the way he moves, right? He moves very smoothly and always has. But I think that's exactly an indication of, like you said, the timeless jiu-jitsu. It is very maybe not fundamental, but there's a lot dialed down, and it's just the stuff he needs, and it's always a pleasure to watch him.
There's not a lot of fluff, right?
Right.
It's just it's the good stuff that works and works well under pressure. Yeah, you gotta respect that. Winning a unanimous decision, victorious in the main event, Rafael Lovato Jr.
I believe that's his 7th fight to win title accomplishment or defense. I'm sure there's been over the weight classes, maybe some different titles in there, but
Wow.
I want to say 7th.
I love it. I love seeing these guys compete. Also, the co-main event was really, really fun. This was Pedro Marinho, the Gracie Barra black belt, up against an ADCC champion, Davi Ramos, 2015 77 kilogram champion. And Marinho, we've been watching him a lot over this last sort of 18 months or so. Of course, he got promoted to black belt not that long ago, but is one of the best no-gi stylists currently active on the scene. And this was just a scrap. And that big old stage that Fight to Win has, it's a big stage, and it was barely able to contain the furious action that was going on between these guys because they've got very similar styles. Davi Ramos. Who is it? I think it's Josh Hinger, his Atos teammate, says that he's like a Tasmanian devil. He's just this whirlwind of activity.
That's an apt description. Yeah, no surprises that these guys were all over the mats. Really fun to watch also because shooting on Pedro Marinho is a risky endeavor with that guillotine. But Davi was able to get in and out pretty well. Also opened up his game a little bit. I thought they had a really fun match. Corey, thoughts?
Yeah, just another wild match. And I think both of their styles really had a chance to shine in this. And Davi's aggressive and beckoning style really allowed us to see the best of Pedro, which is this scrambly, chin strap oriented, wrestle heavy, just flurry of jiu-jitsu. And of course, say no more about Pedro Marino's guillotine and the fact that he won yesterday via guillotine.
Submission Underground. Yeah, like 48 hours later after winning this match in Houston, his hometown, right, adopted hometown, he flew to Oregon to compete on Chael Sonnen and Submission Underground to win by submission there as well. So, nice. Pedro Marinho, gangster. But it takes somebody like Davi Ramos physically capable of pushing the pace because not many people can go head to head with Pedro Marinho in one of those kind of matches. Mm-hmm. Also, a very notable result was Marinho Malyjasiak winning in a female heavyweight title match, submitting Kendall Rusing with an absolutely savage toe hold. Take a look at this. So basically, Kendall, something of a strategic error coming up over the top, pressuring hard, very forward, kind of style, and she comes over the top into this leg attack. But look, both her ankles are extremely taped up, and Maria just answers back with a toe hold of her own. Ooh. And that was it. It was basically just a little over 60 seconds into this match. I would say that it was a big tactical error from Kendall in exposing her feet if the ankles were injured at all, because Maria's got some good leg locks.
Yeah, she's one of the unsung savages, I would say, in the black belt women's divisions, and really, really great finishing powers, and wasted no time there applying that lock. But you do have to wonder, based on the heavy tape jobs around Kendall's ankles, if there was a pre-existing injury there.
Oh, I would imagine so. But Malyjasiak has scored some really notable wins now with leg locks. She submitted Natalie DeJesus with a straight knee bar, and now taking out Kendall Rusing with that nasty toe hold as well. I got to say, if you follow the women's heavyweight divisions, that anytime you see Malyjasiak compete, do not sleep on her because she's very, very dangerous, very physical, very dangerous, and a good finisher. But that's not all from Fight to Win 177. We've got the full replays, all the 40 plus matches. You can find those in our archives and go into our website and you can check out the full results and everything, because there were some really cool matches featuring the locals as well. So tons of action to catch up on there. Shall we talk a little bit about what's coming up?
Let's do it. Let's dive in.
So I think this is the one that we're so excited for, right? Of course, let's talk about the Who's Number One Championships, because after that match of the year contender with Roberto Jimenez, that Kade Ruotolo is going to drop down in weight and he's going to join the 155-pound division in September into the mix alongside, so far we've only announced we've only announced Mikey Musumeci, but that means that 6 other names will make up that division. Who it could be, anyone's guess. We know, we're not saying, but man, Mikey and Kade in the same division, immediately people are just like, mind blown emoji.
You'd love to see it, and yeah, there's so much more to come. You guys' minds are going to be blown. But yes, Kade and Mikey, first 2 athletes announced. And we're going to have 2 a day, Monday through Thursday, for the next month. So it's going to be a long whirl. Each division will be complete, though, by the end of the week. So
yeah, we're going to announce we're going to finish rolling out every name in the 155 division by the end of the week. So not too much to wait. Not too much time to wait, right?
I think will be pleased with some of the divisions we have going here. It's going to be fun. Thankfully, I saw some comments about, oh, you announced Mikey too early, no one else will join. All the contracts are locked in. They're screwed.
They're not going anywhere.
So
everybody who's in our tournament, they are in, and they're fully aware of what's coming, and they know that we're only inviting the best. So nobody's going to pull out when they see somebody get announced. But Corey, what are your thoughts about Kade joining this lightweight division?
I mean, I think he absolutely deserves to be there, right? He's the number 2 ranked lightweight, and like I was saying before, there has not been a match this year that Kade Ruotolo has been in that is not deserving of a nomination of an award. I don't think that any of his matches in the tournament will be any different, especially given the roster that will be announced later on this week.
Man, I am so excited. I'm so excited. I know some of these names who are coming, and it is such. It's like when you've got that juicy secret that you want to tell, but you have to. It's eating me up inside. I just want to tell everybody. Oh, wait till this match. You won't have to wait too long. This is going to be so cool. All right. We got a really cool event coming up on August 1st, man. We got a really cool event coming up on August 1st. BJJBet. So, BJJBet 2. BJJBet. It doesn't matter.
Gotta throw it out there.
BJJBet goes down on August 1st. And there's a number of things that are very notable about this event. But the big one that we're going to talk about first is, of course, the gi match between Nicholas Meregali and Felipe Pena. Not the first time that they've met.
No, it's not. Let's roll the highlight, because I have a condensed version of what we saw at the 2019 World Championships. One of the most exciting matches, I think, in world's history, at least from Flo's existence. And, back and forth war that ultimately saw Meregali secure the choke, but there was great moments from both, and definitely a spicy match. I love this moment here where Meregali attempts to dive on the back, but Felipe is able to reverse the position, gives him a little belly tap, says, let's go. And these guys have been exchanging some words of late right now.
Belly tap. I like that. Look at that.
Really aggressive match from both athletes. And there's no love lost between the two. They've definitely been going after each other a little bit online. Definitely distinct personalities, viewing competition and promotion, and even just maybe the essence of jiu-jitsu a bit differently. And I think we're going to see an incredible match on August 1st, because Felipe Pena has looked simply unstoppable of late. How?
Man, Meregali has been phenomenal this year. Yeah, he's won some very big, very significant matches, and this is a couple of years ago now. Meregali was able to win this one by submission in a very intense match, and the truth be told, that Meregali has not been the same since. That this year, this year Felipe Pena has had some incredible results. Meregali has not. So it does beg the question of what kind of match to expect. But given, if you follow Meregali on social media, given what he's been posting over the last couple of weeks, he said that he is bringing back his old friend. And his old friend is Crazy Eyes Meregali. He's getting ready.
I missed that post.
He's getting ready to unleash the demon. He literally said that he's waking something up inside him, that he's bringing his old friend back. And I think for anybody who had ever seen him in action at the World Championships, especially in person, not just on camera, the Nicholas Meregali that you see out and about, just hanging out and stuff, super chill guy, super nice, super easygoing, polite, humble, and yet he's an animal, and like pacing up and down next to the mat, just like this snarl on his face. I will not go within 20 feet of the guy. I'm like, here's some serious energy. I'm like, no way. Like, because he's really channeling all this fury into his matches. And Felipe Pena is generally pretty easygoing. It just full stop, you know. Not a lot phases him.
He's very stoic ahead of his matches, it seems.
Stoic, very, very calm, very focused, but, you know, just nothing really phases him. So this is going to be a real clash of styles and a battle of personalities in this match. And I'm very, very excited for it. And also, Corey, fill us in on this, because there is something very significant to do with the rankings here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Felipe Pena, given everything he's been able to accomplish this year, is deservedly the number 1 ranked guy. But Nicholas Meregali is right up there with him, despite the fact that he's been on kind of a slide this year. He is still right up there, and a win, specifically a dominant win over Felipe Pena, would put Meregali right up at the number 1 pound-for-pound spot where he, or the winner of this match, regardless, belongs for sure.
Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild that we could see potentially the number 1 pound-for-pound spot in the GI rankings change off the basis of this result?
Or Felipe Pena just continues to establish himself as the man to beat. I mean, 2 incredible storylines. But interesting side note to all this is that Meregali has sort of left his home base, right?
Correct.
So that was a big change for him. He's been a long-time student of Mario Hayes, and I don't exactly know where he's training right now.
Last time we saw is that he's spent the last couple of weeks or maybe longer training at DreamArt in Sao Paulo, which of course is an Alliance Academy. And in terms of like the training rooms, you can't find much better than that. You know, they've got this incredible squad of nothing but professional athletes, high-level competitors from blue to black belt, including, of course, the Muniz brothers, Patrick Gaudio, Isaac Bayens, many, many others, and a very deep room indeed. And Meregali, I would say that, you know, you've got those guys pushing you in the gym. That's going to be, you know, put you in a good spot to go up against somebody like Felipe Pena. But I'm very, very excited for that match. But I'm also very excited for the no-gi tournament. They have a middleweight, an 8-man middleweight no-gi tournament. And Chase, who are some of the names who are going to be competing?
Oh man,
in this?
it is so sick. It's going to be an amazing bracket. So we have Leandro Lowe returning to no-gi competition for the first time since ADCC 2017.
Isn't that incredible?
That is sick. I'm looking forward to that. But he's joined by some very experienced and currently active no-gi grapplers. We have William Tackett's in the mix. Mikael Galval's making his black belt debut. The Hulk, Lucas Barbosa, is in the mix. Toquinho.
Oh my God. So Huzma Palhares, Toquinho is in the mix as well. No, okay. So there's a lot to unpack here. You know, Lucas Hulk Barbosa has been on a roll. He had that crazy match with Matheus Diniz not too long ago on BJJ Stars. Of course, just, you know, crushed the life out of William Tackett in a road to ADCC on Saturday night. And now he's going to go in the mix with 8 of the most dangerous no-gi grapplers based in and around Brazil. Leandro Lowe, who knows what to expect with that guy? Because, you know, people are maybe forgetting that, yes, Leandro hasn't competed no-gi since 2017. And that was by far from his best performance. That was far from his best performance, you know. But he's a no-gi world champion. And actually, that year that
he holds a win over Gordon Ryan.
Indeed, he does. And the year that he won No-Gi Worlds, when he was still all the way back when he was a lightweight, he took silver in the absolute division, losing via only advantage to Shanji Ribeiro. So Leandro has got no-gi chops. He knows what to do on the mat. But has the no-gi game progressed and evolved in that time that he's been focused in on just the gi for the last couple of years? And how is he going to be able to handle this kind of the new breed, and especially the surging Mika Galvão? Because Mika Galvão, his black belt debut, doesn't matter his belt. Right, Corey? Like, his belt is just absolutely, doesn't mean a thing in this match, because he's already been going head-to-head with some high-level black belts, and he's had some phenomenal performances.
Exactly right. It's never mattered for him. It didn't matter when he was a blue belt submitting black belts. It didn't matter when he was a purple or a brown belt submitting black belts. This doesn't change anything except for the day, right? He's still going to go out and show us exactly what we've seen, which is a new evolution every time we see him.
And it's so exciting. And BJJBet, that's not all to look forward to, because you've got a heavyweight women's match in the gi. Tayane Porfirio up against Gabi Peçanha. You got Mateus Gabriel, the 2019 world champion, going up against Luan Carvalho. You got Sam Nagai. You got Mayram Alves. Many more. Man, this is a very exciting event. You can watch that here on FloGrappling on August 1st. Wow. Okay. I think that's it. That's it for today, man. It was a busy weekend. I'm very tired. It was a wild weekend. Need some rest. I'm going on vacation this week, but I will see you next week. However, Chase, we'll see you in a while, I think.
Yes, I'm going out to pasture. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be here actually on Wednesday for the WNO podcast, but
send your positive vibes to Chase.
I'm getting reconstructive hamstring surgery on Friday. Haven't been able to train for a couple months. Tried PT, didn't work. So we're going to go under the knife and get it done. It's going to be a long recovery, but we'll see how it goes. Just 6 weeks of crutches, and then from there, hopefully I'm a little more physically able to do stuff. But I'll be around. Don't worry. I'll be going crazy. I'll probably be online all the time. So, yeah.
You'll be chatting it up in the Discord with nothing else to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Send your positive vibes to Chase. Get well soon, bro.
Thanks, Hal.
But you know, they say jiu-jitsu is good for you. It happens.
So far, it's been pretty decent to me. But yeah.
It has.
Things happen.
Anyway, Corey, another great show. Thank you very much. Chase, we'll see you soon. And you, beloved viewers, we'll see you next week for another episode of Grappling Bulletin. See you later.
Peace.